Well, hey there, you good-looking son of a bitch. Today is August 3rd, 2021, and 42 years ago on this day, you were born. The reason that you're watching this, hopefully, is just because you're bored and you wanted to see something you uploaded. Now, if the intent of this is why you're watching this, that means that you either have dementia or you have Alzheimer's. And at this point in your life, it is your biggest fear. So, this birthday is the first birthday that you've ever given yourself a gift. This video. This video is basically a 1-year recap, and moving forward, you're probably going to do one of these no less than once a year, just to give yourself a reminder from a good-looking face of what you've been spending your time on, you know, what's been happening in your world. So, the reason that you decided to do this is because your mom just recently passed away. So that has been extremely difficult because she is the last person in your life that has any kind of key or reminder of the past of your life. And so you're feeling a little lost. So your biggest fear is that you are going to grow old and have Alzheimer's or dementia or some kind of deficiency to where you're not going to be able to use your mind, and you're worried about not knowing who you are. So this video is for you, man. Happy birthday. Setzerpendence, the logo that's behind me here, that is your contribution to the family, okay? And that came about in July of 2020. You, your then wife, your brother and his wife, the four of y'all took a ride out to Missouri. It was a 6-day ride. Y'all hit up Arkansas, Oklahoma. Every 2 days you went somewhere new. And so during this time, there was a time when you and your brother, y'all rode out to Jonesboro, Harley-Davidson, and it was just the two of y'all. And you were thinking at that time that you probably need to start leaving yourself some messages for the future.
It's been a real pretty ride this morning. The the whole thing with the trees is just, badass. The smell right now it's pretty cool. You don't get this back home.
So you went on to describe the feeling, the smell, everything, as much description as you could give yourself to kind of remind you of being there. So at that time is whenever you really started thinking about Setzerpendence. So you dubbed that ride the Setzerpendence Ride 2020. And it was around the 4th of July. It was just what independence means to Setzers, for, all intents and purposes. So the Setzerpendence Ride is really when you realized you had to be on a bike more. That the depression that you're suffering up to at this point has come from a time when the only time you've spent your adult life without a motorcycle. That was the Setzerpendence Ride, is what kicked off all this video and recording, editing, and all that journey. It started in 2020. You just didn't know it yet. July 28th, 2020, you bought a new bike. You weren't looking for a new bike, but you found a new bike. So, in a year, you put about 27,000 miles on that bike. You rode from Florida to California, a lot of places in between. You did a Sturgis that year, 2020. You did that solo. You went up there and you spent 3 or 4 days riding around, checking out the sites. You got to see Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore, Iron Mountain Road. You got to see a lot of cool stuff out in Sturgis. And that solo trip is what reignited everything about motorcycles for you. What it means for you to be on the open road. Why you feel this calling. It's I don't know that I would say it started there. It started probably when you were doing the Setzerpendence ride, but I would say that the solo Sturgis trip is really what solidified your feelings on the Setzerpendence ride. It was just, yes, this is right, you know, and you realize that this is not gonna not be in your life again, you know. So yeah, man, that was your new bike. 2020 Road Glide, 2020 Harley Davidson Road Glide, and you love the shit out of that bike. It was a lot of fun. The 4 dogs that you had at the time, the only dog that was really yours was Molly. And the only reason Molly was yours is because she claimed you. And that was the first time in your life, and you know, you got her in 2008. And that was the first time in your entire life, you've had dogs your entire life, but that was the first time any animal has actually claimed you. And that connection that you had with that dog was probably what a lot of young kids experience whenever they get a dog, you know. For me, whenever I was young, my mom had all the dogs that we had were my mom's dogs, you know. So so that dog Molly really meant something to you because she chose you, and you were her human. And so when you got back from Sturgis, she was sick when you left, you know. She was just old, but when you got back, she waited for you to come home. And when you came home, you were home for about 30 minutes, and that's when she started to die. She waited for you to come home before she died. So that was pretty hard for you. But that's part of it, you know. Your first, I can't speak for the future, of course, but that was the first dog that's ever claimed you. So she was pretty special. Your brother's wife, her birthday's in September, and she had never been to South Padre Island. And so we were, you know, shooting the breeze and had a few beers, and I was like, "You'd never been to South Padre?" So I was like, "We're booking it." So right then and there, you booked the room for 6 of us to go spend South Padre Island, to go spend Amber's birthday at South Padre Island. And it was right off the water. It was a really good time. You were fighting through some depression at the time, but you and Jonas rode your bikes down there, and Amber loved South Padre. And it was a hell of a time. Y'all had a really good time. So around October of 2020, you decided you got your new bike. You know, you're having all these feelings about Setzerpendence. You actually decided what the hell, and you started a YouTube channel, and that's probably what you're watching this on now. So it's kind of a significant thing for you because you keep to yourself. You don't really hang out with a lot of people. You're not a big social person. So putting yourself out there into the internet does not seem particularly enjoyable for you. It's not something that you would do normally. So this is way outside of your comfort zone. And for the most part, you stuck with it pretty good. You're finding that what's enjoyable is all the hardware part of things. You know, you found some interest in videography and photography, hardware, gear. Audio's been a real pain in the ass for you, but you're getting there. But yeah, this YouTube channel has really opened up a whole different skill set for you that you didn't really have before. Well, not that you didn't have before, you didn't, but you never thought that this would be something you'd be interested in. So as things are coming about and as you're learning new things, you're finding joy in them. So that's kind of cool, you know. So congratulations, dude. You're doing good. There's this place out in Bandera where you ride frequently. A lot of bikers do ride because it's real pretty hill country, Texas hill country. there was a motorcycle club, an MC Blue Line MC, I think, something along those lines. It's MC for cops, and 4 of their members out of the 9 that were riding this specific route, they got hit by a drunk driver, and 4 of them died. And so your son Chase, he's got at the time and currently he is in a truck club called Texas ATC, and his club put together a benefit ride for those 4 men that were killed that day. And so it was a pretty awesome gathering of people, and we took the same route that those guys took that day, and it was I don't know, it was like a 3-hour deal, 4-hour deal, but it was pretty cool. It was the first parade, if you want to call it a parade, whatever you want to call it, that you ever rode in with that many people. Yeah, it sucked being with that many people, but the reason that we all came together and we rode together was pretty impressive. And you had a business, Acme Reprographics, that printed some memorabilia, I guess, some plaques and stuff like that to give to the families. And everybody was very, very moved and very appreciative. There's another parade that you were in, a parade with cops. Your son's truck club, Texas ATC. There was a lot of truck clubs there, but you were there to show support for them. Chase calls you that morning and says, "Hey, I want to do. I'm down the road. Where are you at?" And you're like, "What do you mean?" And then he says, "Well, I'm in at the parade. Where aren't you going to come?" I was like, "Dude, riding in parades suck. It's not enjoyable at all." He was like, "Oh, okay." So you got on your bike and you went out there and you met him, but it wasn't too bad. It was pretty cool. Just local here by where you live. Most of your adult life, you've had real bad back pain, and so come to find out, what that was you had herniated discs in your L4 and L5 and S1. You had 2 discs in between those 3 vertebrae. And so, long story short with that, after just about 20 years of dealing with that, you decided that you were tired of being in pain every day, and you went ahead and did the back surgery, which you were terrified of doing, because there were so many horror stories out there about people that had just been fucked up after they got their back surgery done. And so the trade-off was just, like, man, it up until the day you woke up from surgery, you were second guessing it, and you were actually looking to back out of it while they were wheeling you back there to get put under. So, however, it's been a terrific experience. You really made a good decision with this, because that pain, you woke up, it's been gone, and it's never come back. There is other pain, there is other things, but it's mobility issues, but it's because you're stuck behind a desk all day. You're not doing your exercises like you're supposed to. You need to get out and walk more and do things like that. There's a pain in your upper torso, in your back area, that it's tough to do this. You just need to exercise more. That's all. So, and you've been making strides to do that. But the back surgery was a great success. There were some caveats. There were some problems afterwards. The initial back surgery went very well. You developed a hematoma, and after it was all said and done, after the smoke cleared, we all figured out why. What happened was you broke a stitch, and the doctor said that was the first time, you know, the surgeon said that was the first time that's ever happened. They didn't know you broke that stitch, but so what happened was you developed a hematoma. You had to go back to the hospital, and that was the worst pain you've ever been in. You've broken bones, you've had nasty cuts and stitches, and you know, you've done lots of things to your body over the years, but that hematoma has been the worst pain that you've ever been in. You passed out on the way to the hospital from the pain. And that's the first time you've ever passed out from pain. Been passed out drunk plenty of times, but never passed out from pain. So you went back into the hospital for another week after that. They had to drain it. They had to cut it back open and scoop out all the hematoma because they weren't able to actually drain it because it was too solid. It was too solidified. So when they opened you back up, that's whenever the surgeon realized that you broke a stitch. And he said that was the first time that's ever happened, which you hear that a lot in your life, and that you will always be remembered because you're the guy that broke a stitch. The stitches, they're made out of, like he said, it would have, the stitches are made out of like some serious nylon or some shit. So he said it would have been more likely that you would have ripped the skin than broke the stitch. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, congratulations on doing something that's never been done before. But this, as you'll see, frequently happens to you. So not really a big shocker. So, but anyways, you've healed up pretty good. Best decision you made regarding your back yet. And the best thing is that you're able to ride your Harley all day with no problems. So good job. Well, your brother is actually your half brother. You've never really thought of him that way. And the only reason that I'm telling you that now is because his mom passed away this year. And she was a really lovely lady. She was just an awesome person, full of happiness, very sweet lady, and very brave. She was she was something else, man. I went to go see her when she was in the hospital, and last time I got to see her actually, and she went out on her terms. You know, she made the decision to do what she wanted to do, and she did it. She had a lot of faith in God, and you know, she just went after it. I would like to talk more about this to you, but it's your brother's mom, and I'm probably going to put this out on the internet, so I don't want to say too much in respect to him and her. February 2021, Texas had Snowpocalypse. And so what happened was the snow that we got, which it doesn't snow in Texas, so the snow that we got, it overloaded all of our electrical systems. Texas is on its own has its own electrical grid. It's called ERCOT, if you really want to know. And yeah, it was overloaded, and just about the whole damn state went without electricity. The parts of the state that did have electricity, they were cycling on and off to keep from blacking out the whole damn state. It was really interesting. You know, you fared out pretty good. You and your family, y'all did pretty well. But there was other parts of the state that were, you know, people were devastated by. You know, people died, and it was a pretty significant thing, and it was the first time in your lifetime that anything like that's happened in Texas. So something worth noting: the great Snowpocalypse, the great Texas Snowpocalypse of 2021. You lived to tell the tale. And I got a little bit of drone footage of that too. So let me show you some drone footage of this. It was pretty cool. I shouldn't say cool. It was cool for you because nothing negatively happened to you, but you know, it wasn't so cool for other people. Your sweet, beautiful niece, Miranda, got married this year. And we went to her wedding, and it was beautiful and momentous, and she was radiating with beauty, and it was her very special day. It was so awesome to be there and experience that. It was the first time that you ever bought a suit. You bought a suit jacket. You couldn't get talked into the pants, so you bought your whole wardrobe that day was fresh off the shelf. But you wore blue jeans and cowboy boots and a nice button-down shirt. Anyways, your wardrobe is lacking seriously, my man. But it's all good because it is what it is. You're not trying to impress anybody. It's just your mind is set up to where your mind is set up for efficiency. So you go into your closet and you've got 20 shirts and they're all the same. So and they the bad part of that is like at this spot in your life, your whole wardrobe has your logo on it. So that was tough because whenever you would go out, which wasn't very you don't go out a whole lot, but whenever you did go out, it was tough finding something to wear because everything's always got your logo on it. So, but your niece got married, and it was a beautiful, beautiful event. She got married at the Big Red Barn in Seguin, and it was a great time. Your little girl, not your little girl, but your little girl, your niece, she's all growed up. She's she graduated not too long ago. She's a registered nurse. She's just like your brother. I mean, she is daddy's girl, and she is headstrong, just like Jonas is. And it's they even look alike. It's crazy, but it's all good. It was a beautiful thing. And it made you really, really happy to be there and watch it all go down, and watch your brother do the dance with her, and it really tugged at your heartstrings, man. So that was a beautiful thing, Your truck got stolen. Your truck got recovered. You almost went to jail. Insignificant in the grand scheme of things. I just put it on the list of things that happened in this year, so I thought I would just bring it up. You caught the guys that did it on camera. The community provided a name, but nothing ever happened because that's just how shit works out for you. But you went so you started door knocking yourself, and the cops didn't like that so much. They threatened to put you in jail for trying to find your own truck. But it doesn't matter. You got it back. Only thing that was missing was the tank of gas, so everything was all good there. At this point in your life, you're really trying to downsize the things that are going on, distractions, and just stress. You're just trying to de-stress. You've been doing a lot of miles on your bike. Your employees, you've been doing pretty good about keeping the ball rolling forward as far as your main business goes, but your printing business has sucked all of your life and finances out of your world. It's been a real drag and a real drain, and the biggest decluttering, the biggest de-stressor that you did was you sold off that business. Fuck that business. You're a better man for it. You're happier. Don't look back at it. You threw a lot of money away, but part of life. No big deal. But that's why you know what you know about vinyl and design, logo design, and things like this. If you're like, why are these things in my life? It was because you had a printing company. So don't think on it too hard, though. Just let other people deal with that. Don't get involved. It sucks. The Motorcycle Grand Tour of Texas. It's an event put on by a man named David Canada, and it is basically just what it says. Texas is a pretty large state. The tour takes place. You take your bike and you take this rally flag that they give you, and you go travel these 50 different places all across Texas. Changes every year. It's self-paced. You've got several months to accomplish it. It usually runs from January to October. This year, because of COVID-19, there were some issues getting started, but it's been a blast. You've been sidetracked, you've been derailed a little, but you're still planning on finishing, hitting all 50 stops. At this point in the game, you haven't even submitted any of your stops, and you got a little better than half. You got a little better than half of them. But it's been an awesome way to explore the state of Texas. You've got most of those stops completed with your brother, your nephew Jared, and your son Chase. They've come along with you along for some of those, and you're on your bike, man. It's a great time. It's just a blast. So trust me, you're having a good time with it. So, being the social butterfly that you are not, you've actually met some people on the internet, similar, like-minded people, and you've made some really good friends meeting people on the internet. It's crazy, I know. People have been doing it forever, but it's something that's happened that you didn't anticipate on happening. You got some really good friends out in Houston. You got some really good friends all over the United States that you've never even met face to face, but you've reached out to them. You've tried supporting them the best that you can. This whole motorcycle journey through social media is really yielded results that you never anticipated on getting. So your internet friends, there's some pretty solid people. You ride out to Houston often to meet up with some people and go riding, and it's just a blast. It's a good time. The ride there is about 3 hours. You do it in about 2, and the ride there and back is usually solo. And during that time, it's forcing you to be alone with yourself, to think about where you want to go moving forward. So it's just good times all around, man. In February, you and the Setzer crew went to go visit your dad at the cemetery where he's buried, and all of you guys got together, and for this particular year, your nephew and your son both, which they're a couple months apart in age, they both decided, since it's their 21st birthday, that they wanted to go to Las Vegas. And they wanted all the 4 of us to go, me, your brother, your nephew, and your son, to ride our Harleys out there and back. And so, honestly, me and Jonas thought they were full of shit. But when the time started getting closer and closer, it was happening. It was a real deal. This is what they wanted to do. So you and the guys, y'all set out in at the end of May. Your son's birthday's in May. Your nephew's in March. And so at the end of May, when your son turned 21, y'all set out for a 10-day epic road trip on your Harleys. It was oh man, the planning that went into it, it was going to be the most epic thing ever. And for them, I think it was. For you, it was a real pain in the ass, because your bike, your brand new bike, blew a head gasket and dislodged cat and a flat tire on day 2. So at this point in time, there's a national shortage of everything. There's no parts available. There's no tires available, which would have been good to know, leading out. But the 10-day Vegas trip, you didn't get to participate, man. But what happened was, Your bike stayed in Apache Junction, and that's in Arizona. And they finished, or they didn't finish, but they rode out to Vegas as scheduled, and you flew out there to meet them. And so you spent the day and the night out in Vegas doing Vegas shit with your son and your nephew and your brother, and it was a pretty damn good time. And I hope that they remember that for the rest of their life, because it was, you were pretty upset you didn't get to go, but you were also very happy that the boys, which is who the trip was for, they did get to go. They did get to go see things that they'd never saw before. They got to ride their Harleys through canyons and see things that, it was just an awesome trip. So you flew home, they completed the trip, and then when your bike was ready, you flew out to go get your bike, and then you took the long way home. So you got to see some of the stuff that they did. You went into Jerome, Arizona, Prescott, Mexican Hat, Utah. You went. There's one of your internet friends pointed out a ride for you to take the south part of Utah, and it was pretty epic. It was pretty awesome. There was some great things that you'd never seen before either, And so you took that trip. Kind of freaked you out because you didn't have any cell phone service. So you got the navigation on your bike, but it sucked. So it was pretty stressful because you didn't plan the ride out. You were just like, oh, I got my phone. You made it. You went into Mexican Hat. You saw a lot of South Utah. Ended up out in Zion. From there, you went into Nevada, through Vegas, over into California, back down into Arizona. The heat was horrible. The second to last day, it was 120 degrees. And it was the first time you ever had to ride with your visor down on your helmet, because it was like a hairdryer was being blown in your face. It was just miserable. So had the heat shield down, you had your visor down, called it the heat shield. You had your heat shield down, and you bared through it. The second to last day was so miserable, you contemplated actually just riding straight through. You'd been riding all day, you didn't get any sleep the night before, and you were like, screw it, I'm gonna fucking ride. I can't deal with this heat. Which is really weird, because you when you were younger, you were in the heat all the time. That's you used to build metal buildings. You used to roof metal buildings in 100-degree weather. So the idea of you not being able to ride a motorcycle in the freaking 120 was just, it kind of threw you off. But cooler heads prevailed. You decided against it. You got a room in Tonopah, Arizona, which is west of Phoenix. And you got up the next morning at 4 in the morning to beat the heat. And it was 95 degrees, 4 in the morning. So you did 1,000 miles that day. There's a challenge called a 1K in a day. You crushed that. In about 15 hours, you were at the house and out of the heat. Before you flew out to Arizona to pick your bike up from the Vegas run, one of your good friends out in Houston, one of your good internet friends, he is in an MC, and they were having an event for a service dog. They were gifting or donating a service dog to a first responder that has PTSD. And you didn't have a bike, you didn't have any gear, you didn't have shit. Everything was in Arizona with your bike. So this event really meant quite a bit to your buddy, and your buddy means quite a bit to you. So you rented a Harley and rode it to Houston to be a part of the event. You had your son, who's working at a bike shop at this point, buy you a helmet, and you referred to it as the peasant. You referred to the bike as the peasant glide, and the helmet as the as peasant shit. I just did about 30 miles with my new peasant mobile, wearing my new peasant lid, because compared to the shit that you're used to, it was subpar. So if you see anything floating around that says I don't do peasant shit, it all kind of spurred from this. You did a live stream with a guy, Bride the Biker, and you were discussing the peasant shit that you had to put up with to actually go do the pup ride with your friend out in Houston. So it was pretty cool. It really made you appreciate your bike all that much more whenever you got back on it. Who am I? Who are you? What do you like? What don't you like? Hopefully at this point in your life, applesauce isn't how you answered that question. One, because you hate applesauce, but two, it's an old person joke. You're old. I'm making fun of you for being old and just eating apples. Anyway, so who are you? Well, you're an entrepreneur. You've had several businesses through your life. The funniest story though that I've got to tell you is this. Let's see here, probably in about 2009 or 2010, somewhere in that time frame, there was a recession, the Great Depression, recession, whatever it's been referred to as. It was tough, but during that time you had a rat breeding business. Your high school friend, who's also named Jason, and you also built his first building, his first snake barn building. He's convinced you, and he didn't have to do a lot of convincing. He got you into breeding rats for snake breeders, and so you hang out with him. Or he goes, the story goes like this, and I'm sure he's probably got a different version of it, but this is how you remember it. He goes, hey man, he goes, I'm in town. He's a civilian contractor for the government, so he's frequently, at that point in his life, he was frequently overseas, and he was coming back and forth. And so whenever he was here, he was tending to his property and his ball pythons. And so he calls me and he's like, hey man, I'm in town. You want to come over and have a beer? And I was like, sure. What are you doing? He's like, I'm cleaning the rats. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun. And he's like, just come over here, bring a six pack with you. I was like, all right. And I said, but dude, I'm not into rats or nothing. So he's like, shut the hell up. Just come on over. So he's got this little building built that he and another friend of another high school friend of mine built, that they dubbed the rat barn. And so he's got all these cages set up for all these rats. He's breeding rats to feed to his snakes. Ugh, you don't like snakes, by the way. And so, not that you were particularly fond of rats, but so anyways, he's going through the motions, and we're drinking beer, catching up on times, and he's showing me, as he's doing it, he's going through the process and putting new pine and swapping out, rats and taking the pregnant ones out and moving around. Anyway, so he's showing me all this, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, then he's like, yeah, he goes, you can get probably $5 a rat for one of these big ones. And I'm like, well, how long does it take for them to get big? Oh, well, it takes about this much time. Well, how long does it take for them to, how do you talk numbers to me here? What are the timelines? What are the, how much yield do you get on each? And he's like, I was like, how much do each one of these little fuckers, how many rats do they pop out, And he's like, oh, you can get between, I forget what it is at this point, but it's like, you can get between 10, 20, little pups out of one rat. And I'm like, and what's the cycle? How many days in a cycle? And he's like, well, usually about every 20 days, 30 days they produce, and then what's kind of cool is that one mom will take care of another one's litter. And I'm like, tell me more, So after spending the afternoon with my buddy, I go home and I tell the wife, hey, I want to breed rats. And she goes, why? And I said, I was over at my buddy's and he said that, this and that, And she goes, where? And I said, well, in the garage, we got a detached garage. It's 400 square feet, 500 square feet. I was like, I'm going to convert that. I'm going to insulate that and put an air conditioning unit in there, and I'm going to do it in there. Okay. Now, that goes to show you the understanding, right? I mean, I challenge any of you to go home to your wife and say, I want to start breeding rats in our garage, and just tell me what you think that the comments are going to be coming from her, So anyways, I had support in my new venture. And thing is, I didn't know how to handle rats. I didn't know how to pick them up, move them, touch them. I didn't want anything to do with them. But here I was figuring it out. I like building shit. So I built the cages in short order, and then it was just coming to putting rats in the cage. So I went to my local pet store. I bought, I was like, yeah, let me have those rats right there. Those look like good rats. Well, she gave me all male rats. So I put them all together, and I'm like, all right, start fucking. And so luckily that didn't happen, because that would have came up with a odd litter. But anyway, about the same time, I happened to notice a guy in Corpus who was selling his home-based rat business. He was also a snake breeder, and he was selling all of his stuff because he was moving, and it was easier to sell his shit than to move it. So I'm like, perfect. He's got a bunch of cages. He's got a bunch of rats, which was what I was after, was the supply. And so I take the Tahoe and my youngest boy Chase, and we go down to Corpus. And it's about a 3-hour drive for you. And so you meet up with the guy, you load up all the cages on the trailer, then you start loading up all the rats in the Tahoe. And so at first, as you're putting these tubs of rats into the truck, you hear a bunch of rat sounds and them scurrying about and, making all this noise and shit. And it is bizarre. It is so weird. You're about to get into a vehicle with all this shit going on. And so you get going, and like 30 minutes down the road, you don't hear shit. And so we were like, me and Chase were looking back there, and I'm like, man, what the hell's going on? So I pull over and I start popping the lid to these damn Tupperware deals, the Tupperware that the rats are in, and they're all dying. They're all suffocating because they don't have any goddamn air. And so I'm freaking out, because I'm like, I basically went down there to buy all these rats, and they're all going to be dead by the time I get home. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So we started putting the air vents, facing it, popped all the lids, and I was like, son, I said, you got to watch and make sure none of the rats get out. And if they do, you got to put them back in. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So we make it home. We lost about half the rats. The rats that were left, threw them in the breeding cages, and I was off to the races. So I did that for about, about a year. And my main business, my drafting business, really started taking off, and I had to just give all my effort and all my focus to that business. So I had to close down the rat business, but it wasn't because it wasn't successful. There's a lot of things I would have done different, but there was a lot of things that I did right, and it was pretty exciting because there's nobody around here that does that. I mean, understandably so, because it's fucking horrible. So we were living in a neighborhood that was they had 2-acre lots, and with the subdivision had a park, and it was right across the street from our house. And so my stepson would go over there to play basketball, and on cleaning day you could smell it for miles around. The whole neighborhood was like, what the hell is that smell? It didn't smell like something was dead. It just smelled awful. It was horrible. And so it was all the ammonia from the rat piss and shit. And so on cleaning day, we're pulling out all the tubs, and I've got buckets and buckets of bad pine that I'm stacking out by the by the street, and then of course this is drawing in snakes. It was a mess, man. It was horrible, but it was hilarious. And that was probably your funniest entrepreneurial story that you've come across. I mean, you've done some shit, you've done some weird shit, you've done you've done some weird things to make a buck, but that is definitely the most outside of your comfort zone as you went to make a buck. And it was a pretty fun experience. The coolest thing that you did for that whole thing, I think, probably would be you set up a watering system so that you didn't have to keep watering the rats, because it was just it fluctuated so much. It was like you could go out there every 3 days, and it was like, or you could go out there every day, and it was like, they didn't drink any water for 2 days, and on the third day it would be empty, and then like, okay, so every 3 days, well then you go there every day, and it was like it was empty it was always so fluctuating. So you're like, I got to figure out a way to automate this. So you took a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and you took the innards of a toilet, where it has the float, and then you rigged a water hose up to it, and you set it up on top of one of the cages, the highest cage, right? And then so that thing filled up with water, and then you had the tubing system that came out and fed all the cages. And then so as they would drink, that bucket of water would go down, and then when it go down, the float would get to a certain level, and then it would fill back up. And so that was the coolest thing that you did in that whole rat barn experience, except for when it comes to when the little bastards would break out, and they would frequently do so. Then they would need water, so they would chew through the tubing to get water, and then they would flood all the cages. Nothing sucks quite as bad as cleaning out flooded rat cages full of dead, bloated rats. That's horrible, but you did it, and it makes for a hell of a story. So yeah, man, you're an entrepreneur through and through. River City Design has been your main business since 2007. You've started plenty of different ones, different ventures, partnerships, things like that along the way. You've built and sold businesses, but River City Design has been your mainstay, mainly because you've never found anybody to take it over. That is until 2017. You found a suitable mentee, a suitor, so to speak, and that ended disastrously. You basically handed your company over to another man, and he gutted it and stripped you down, took you most of your customers, and it just ended disastrously. You're still in control of the company, you still own the company, and the employees that are left, they're pretty ride or die. The thing though is, it's like when somebody wrecks your car or your vehicle or whatever, you're just kind of like, meh, even after it gets all fixed up, it's just not the same. So you've really been kind of fighting through this lately. You don't know, you don't know if you want to keep doing it. It's a good business. It's provided very well for your family, raising your kids and getting everybody along on their way. You've put in a shit ton of hours to make it work, but in the end, it was worth it. That's something else that I would say about you is you're a real hard worker. Once you got your mind made up and you got a direction, you will work endlessly till you get to that goal, which is good and bad. You certainly missed a lot of birthdays and a lot of gatherings and sports and stuff like that, which that's something else too. You're not very much into sports. You never have been. You played basketball when you were in high school. As soon as you graduated high school, you just kind of didn't have any interest in any sports at all. You like to shoot pool. If you want to call that a sport, I mean, it is billiards and it is recognized as a sport, but it's more just like, a way to kill an afternoon. But anyways, back to work. So yeah, you, let me fix my mic here. You have, your employees right now, they're dinging you. So you have a hell of a work ethic. You see things through. It's really important for you that people associate your name with quality and speed. And since Little asshole dog ears. And then so since everything that's happened with your company has happened, you've been a little on the fence on what direction you want to go moving forward. You've still managed to improve the business, but it's really hard to get you focused in on it, especially in your new journey of YouTube and videography and everything like that. Your focus is pulled in many different directions away from business. So before it was really easy for you. Before it was just, you had an outline of how you wanted things to go, and you set up a good team to achieve those goals. You achieved those goals. You had a buyer for your company. Didn't work out. Primarily for the other reason of the trust in the wrong people. But I don't know, at this point in the game, it's just like running a business is, at least a big business, isn't something that you're wanting to do. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. The thing about you though, man, is you typically don't make bad decisions. You make decisions that you think out. Sometimes they don't work out, but it's not something that was hastily done. So work is something that's taken the back burner, unfortunately. The thing about work is this. That used to be, unfortunately, that was your hobby. And so you were fulfilling two things at once. You were making a living, and you were also enjoying the journey, right? So now you have a different journey, and it's really tough to get motivated to work. So you have probably spent more hours building that business than most people work in their lifetime. So it's easy to see how you just kind of burn out with it. You are, though, there are things that are intriguing about it still, so it'll be interesting to see what decisions you make moving forward. I don't personally think that that's kind of weird. I'm talking to you, telling you what I personally think about what's going to happen in the future or your past. So that's kind of weird, right? Anyway, I don't know. I think that you're going to stick with it. You got a good solid client base, very understanding group of people, and plus, you are very in tune with the buildings because you used to build them. So it's hard to just put that down. The big problem that you're running into now is just the same problems that have been in the business for 20 years. And so part of your burnout and frustration comes from that. You are the type of person that likes to learn from his mistakes and not make the same mistakes over and over. So whenever you have a new customer and the new customer grows and then their people are making the same mistakes over and over again, it's just this horrible vicious cycle, this catch-22 of stagnation, no growth, So it's like, I don't even know if you know what a door lug is at this point, but this has been a problem for 20 years. Every company screws it up, then they understand it, and then they make things right. And then hire new people. The new people, they know how to do things. They screw it up. It just keeps going over and over again. It's like, guys, can you just trust me on this? Oh, you're just a dumb draftsman. So, another dog wanting another treat. Get the hell on, girl. Shit, you fat enough. Damn, girl, you big boned. So, work is tough for you. August 2nd, 2020, your mom pulled a disappearing act. She was fanatical. She was obsessed with making sure you had a card, a birthday card, every year for your birthday. She never missed one. And so last year, like I said, August 2nd, 2020, I woke up to the sounds of her dog screaming in the middle of the night. You know, like, "Arr!" He used to howl whenever he was missing his mom. So I was, you know, kind of panicking. I went running around through the house looking for my mom. Couldn't find her. So I texted her. She wouldn't text me back. And then so I forget how. I think Chase. She had texted Chase, trying to find the Walgreens on our road, and there isn't one. So she ended up walking about 7 miles that night looking for one. She had blisters on her feet for, I don't know, months. Or, yeah, I think months. A couple months after that, she had blisters on her feet because she left out in flip-flops. And I went driving down the street to go find her. I couldn't find her. I turned around, went down the other way. You saw your mom in the middle of the night, and she's got her handbag, and she's got her cell phone, and the glow from the phone was bouncing off of her face, and that's all I could see as I was approaching her. And so the glare from the phone, the blue from the phone, was kind of blinding her, and she was standing on the sidewalk, and I pulled up next to her. She didn't even know I was there. So I pulled up next to her, I rolled down the window, and I said, "Hey, you need a ride?" And then so she looked up, and she put her phone down, and then she went like that, and she goes, "I'm sorry. I just wanted to surprise you." And I said, "Mom, you surprised the shit out of me." Get in the truck. So she was like, "You know how important it is for me to get you your card?" And she was going through all this. And so she didn't realize it, but I ended up taking her to Walgreens that night. And so when we pulled into the parking lot, she was really excited that she got to the Walgreens, and she got to get me a card for my 41st birthday, last card she ever got me. And Mom, I'll never forget that, especially now that I put this on video. That was one hell of a memory. This scar right here, that scar on your thumb, is from roof panel. When you used to build metal buildings back when you were a kid, you were looking up on the edge of the roof to see if it was dry enough to actually get up there and continue roofing. And you put your thumbs up here like this, and you know that's what you use to balance, because you were on the tippy top of a ladder, and you're stretched up, and you're like, right, and you're like looking or whatever. And then your buddy throws you an extension cord, and as it comes like that, you go, "Oh!" And you went, "Wham!" And then you cut your shit all. It felt like you cut yourself all the way to the bone. But anyways, a little proof there of who I am to you. So look down at your thumb, and just know that you and I are the same guy. All right. Trust me when I tell you things are good. All right, buddy. I am trying to get this wrapped up for your birthday. It's late, and I've got a lot of work to do. So there's a lot of things that I left out that I wanted to touch base with you on. I don't know exactly how thorough or how much detail I want to get into them as of right now. So I'm just going to put those on the shelf. Hell, man, I've got nothing but time, and shit, you've got nothing but time. So, you know, you're going through a divorce, you're seeing somebody, those things are actually don't have anything to do with each other. The details of those things are still kind of going on, so I'm treading lightly right now. The big thing, though, I think, is this is the first birthday gift you've given yourself. Sorry I didn't wrap it. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you're not a babbling fool. You know, I hope you're not just hunched over somewhere with drool coming out of your mouth doing one of these things. But if you are, grab the nurse's ass. They're not going to say anything. Not a male nurse. Grab a female nurse's ass. They're not going to kick you out. Happy birthday.